So we've gone that next level up. Now what we need to do is get the user interface going. Client components. Again, I'm still using the word client. I'm not using the word device or phone or Android or iOS. I'm still client. The UI we're going to do is going to be based in XAML. Okay? XAML is very, very cool at writing UI. Don't think we're going to have a masterclass in XAML today. You will see the most basic XAML you've ever seen in your life. I am a field, I am a button, I am working, leave me alone. The nice thing about these Xamarin Forms, which are all XAML based, is they are cross-platform. So the same form that you write can be run on Android, iOS, and as I say, things are changing that will allow those same forms to run on a desktop in WPF and a tablet on Windows on UWP, all of which is terribly exciting. So they're completely cross-platform. It's like Toolkit, but on steroids, really. You know, Toolkit allowed you to write the script and deploy it on cell-based and Windows. Same concept. You write it once and you deploy it many. And to do that, we're going to use Xamarin Forms. Xamarin Forms conform to the MVVM view model, which is great because of that, the Symphony framework, which raises the events and provides your data object synergy data, be it converted into .NET types, that doesn't matter, but the old raise property changed, all that kind of stuff, is all now built into the framework, so you've got it. You don't need to code any of that. And we're also going to implement device licensing. Device licensing allows you to control the app. And it's one of the things that might cause us a bit of grief today. But as I said, this is from the ground up. So we're going to have to create a license block, we're going to have to create licenses, and we're going to have to see what happens. So we'll get there. The view model is the sort of the magic bit. You're the guys here, you're the magic ones. You see, we don't bother about the data anymore because we know that all works and it's all sorted. That's, you know, I saw yesterday. And the UI, we're going to do that later. You know, that's just the pretty stuff. You're the workhorse. You manage the communication between these two beasties, okay? The data object exposes properties that say, I've changed. You're the ones that expose the data objects to these guys. You're the ones that allow the commands to be bound to these guys to allow you to call back to the server and get data in your data objects. You're the ones that command all this connection between your client and your server, okay? And you also control page navigation. Now, one thing I'm planning on looking at doing, inside the Symphony framework, there's an ability to manage visual states. Visual states are a WPF thing. So you can move from one visual state to another, and that user interface then allows you to animate, sort of bringing a box up and graying out the screen behind and preventing people touching bits that they shouldn't touch so it looks modal but it's not modal and all that kind of stuff. And animations and swishing things in and whooshing things out. Very much like Rural was doing yesterday or the day before. You know, they clicked a button and it went, ooh, I'll come in and I'll show I'm so lovely and I've got big oil tanks and all that kind of stuff, which is brilliant. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. Brilliant. Symphony framework allows for a very simple framework to do that. But it's WPF specific. This is not WPF, this is XAML. Now, XAML is WPF as well, but WPF is a sort of XAML on double steroids and all that kind of stuff. But what I plan on doing, hopefully inside Symphony framework, is adding sort of page navigation and just implementing the stuff that's already in the Xamarin Forms, just to try and make things a bit easier. It's not there now, so we're going to control our own page navigation. Now you could argue, is page navigation not part of the UI? No, it's not. What you're doing is controlling the pages that the program needs to put somewhere on the screen, but not what's on the page. That will be defined by these guys. You're just saying, do you know what? You've entered something, it's valid, I need you to now see the results. So I'm going to take you to the results page. What the results page looks like, you don't care. You provide the data for the results page, they provide the look of the results page. Okay? So we're not bleeding across the MVVM demarcation lines at all. App.xaml.dbc manages the startup of the client. It will define the start page. It will do the data binding between the view and the model and the view model. And it controls applications sleeping and resuming transactions. We're not going to do anything with sleeping and resuming because we're not really interested. There's nothing pertinent in our application. It's not like, oh, I'm going to sleep, therefore I've got to flush all my data that they've just entered to the server in case the phone dies or the battery goes or something like that. Because you get, a split second to do that. You get a set amount of time. The moment you get told you're going to sleep or whatever, you've got a set amount of time, depending on the type of device, to do something before your code just stops. End of story. But we're not bothered about that at all. And what happens when you resume? You might want to go and refresh some data. We're not bothered about that either. That's not a feature of our application. And as I said, device licensing. I'm not a big fan of device licensing, but it's in there. We use it. It's good if you want to be able to enforce who and who cannot use your device, then device licensing is excellent. Just like Synergy licensing allows you to enforce or not who uses your application. In a sort of mobile market space, it doesn't necessarily make sense that somebody's got to know how to connect into an application before they can actually connect into an application, and that they can't create their own sort of logins and things like that. So it depends the market space you're looking at. Physio My Way got around it because that uses device licensing, but that got around it because it was the physio that set you up for you to then go to the App Store and get the application on your phone. You could all go to the App Stores today and download Physio My Way and run it. You couldn't get anywhere because you've no login. You've not been to a physiotherapist, so you couldn't do anything with it. The fact that you've allocated a license and I'm going to smack you is by the by. Don't do that. But, it's a different model. Anyway, we are going to have to use it because we are a Synergy licensed environment, therefore we're going to use it. We will configure an application and we will receive an app GUID and an RSA key. Those two bits of information we have to put in our application for our application to run. In fact, you need that information to actually just get it to build. Each client has to have then a unique identifier. So each time it installs on a device, a phone, whatever, it has to have a unique identifier. We're going to hard code that because there's only one thing that it's going to run on, and that's this device, if it gets there anyway. So the code you're seeing is not the perfect approach to this. This is an extremely cut down version. Let's get it into the app. So we've got a view model, we've got our licensing, we're going to create the view. The view is going to be pages. The view model is going to be able to navigate between these pages. So we'll have a startup page which will ask for a barcode. Okay? We'll have a second page that may be an error. There's nothing there. We'll have a page that says, I have found your vinyl, you have it in your collection. We'll display an image and some text about it. Or we'll have a page that we can navigate to that says, you have not got this in your collection, but here it is, do you want to buy it? So it's got a button on it to say buy it. Okay? And that's going to be the requirements of the user interface. We'll just navigate to those pages and hope that they've implemented the right things. I am going to throw a caveat in here. We will have an image control on the forms, on the pages. Thus far, I have only ever got one album to display the image code, the image on the pages, even though it's the same code and the same URLs, and those URLs work on all other devices. So if we don't see an image, don't scream and shout at me, your app doesn't work, there's no image. Okay? I'm just warning you. As yet, I've not been able to debug why that is happening. As I said, the entry that we're going to do is accept a vinyl barcode and then a button to go and perform. So those are just the simple controls we're going to use. An image, a label, an entry field, and a button. That's what XAML provides. Now, WPF that we saw earlier on, we did have images, we had labels, we didn't have entries, we had text boxes and things like that. And the XAML in Xamarin Forms is slightly different to WPF. Things like stack panel in WPF is a stack layout in Xamarin. So let's quickly look at the visual flow. We're going to start off with our search page where it accepts the barcode. If we find it, we're going to display, as I said, you've got it. If we don't find it, we'll query Google and say, you've not got it, but this is what it is, do you want it? And if we don't find anything, we'll display an error page. And at any point in time, we'll be able to swipe back or press the back button and go back.